All right, gang, well, this is my current pull workout for the hamstrings and the back. Starting off working my thoracic extension, just a simple seating down, curl the back and extend the spine, curl and extend, focusing on the spinal erectors really pushing up. This is a good warm-up for these. Here is the tabletop bridges, just basically pushing down into my hands. I did a separate video on this earlier if you want to check out more details here. But again, really focusing on the posterior chain, hamstrings, calves, all the muscles in your back, engaging, holding for a second, and then back up. From there, progressing to the straight-legged version. The longer lever is going to make it a little bit more difficult, and I'm pressing down into my heels. This one, I'm working on trying to keep more pressure on my hands and not so much pulling with my ankles into the ground, more of just pressing straight into the floor to ensure that my hamstrings stay nice and contracted the whole time. You don't want to have this sensation like you're just lifting with your hips, but your upper back isn't going anywhere. I'm also starting to play around with a little bit of, I think this is step 3 in the convict conditioning series, where you do the bridging progressions off of the bench, really struggling with these, only getting a couple of inches off, but they're getting better every time, so they're still progressing forward. Just a couple of reps, and then I move on back to the floor. And then finishing off with about 10 to 15 of single leg straight bridges. Really murder for the hamstrings and the glutes. As you can see, I'm not getting quite as high, so I'm working on my range of motion, driving the heel into the floor, still trying to focus on the thoracic extension. About, like I said, 5 to 10, or 10 to 15 on each side, paying attention to differences from right to left side, noticing if there's any more activation on the inside of my hamstring versus the outside of my hamstring, and vice versa between the two ends. From there, it's on to core work. Hanging leg raises are the order of the day here. Just onto the stiff leg raises. Again, the leg raise is not about actually lifting the legs, it's about curling the hips upwards. So I'm focusing on keeping my entire back tight, which is a good warm-up to the pull-ups, which are coming up in a couple sets later, and having control, not kicking the legs, but lifting them and trying to keep the other muscles in my anterior chain tight, such as the quads and the muscles in the shin. Supersetting that with the rollouts. Bringing myself all the way down to my thighs that are about flat on the floor, keeping the abs braced and as tight as possible. Before I forget, I should mention all the exercises I'm doing are 3 sets here in my workouts. 3 sets are my typical workouts, so even though I'm showing it twice here in the video, I'm doing each of these 3 times. I just didn't want to make a 20-minute video here. Coming all the way down, making sure my back is tight as well as my rear deltoids for stability. And then following off with the pull-up exercise, focusing really hard here on upper back stability. That's what I'm doing, so I'm not doing any really advanced pulling techniques these days. Nothing like typewriters or going side to side. I'm just focusing on keeping the rear deltoid and the upper back as contracted as tightly as possible within both underhand and overhanded grip. Supersetting that with my stiff bar curls. Again, I did a separate video on this out on the playground if you want more details on this, but this is a fantastic way to really focus a ton of tension in your biceps. Much better than doing curls with like a free weight or something. So there's my workout. Let me know if you have questions down below. Be fit and live free.